Bangers.
Bangers, bangers, bangers,
Caden.
bangers,
Bicycle races.
bangers,
Bangers, bangers, bangers, bangers, bangers.
bangers.
All bangers today. Konnichiwa, and good day to the beautiful public. I'm Piggy Banks, and this is Back to the Banks with Piggy Banks, and today we will be covering day one of the Shonan Bank Kirin tournament that took place on the 28th, 29th, and 30th of April. This was a really good competition at one of my favorite velodromes, a Keirinjo that I have been fortunate enough to visit myself. It is a beautiful spot situated in idyllic Hiratsuka, about a 3-hour train journey from Tokyo proper. So I've selected 3 races that I really enjoyed from this first day, and we're going to be covering days 2 and 3 in the next videos, but I figured this would be a great little taste of what is to come on the channel, because we are going to get into some proper breakdowns. I've selected these races because I felt they were the most exciting for the day. There were 11 races on each of the days. So this event is quite cool because it actually has races for all of the categories. A lot of events will just cater to one, i.e. S-Class or A-Class or L-Class. This one actually had a good mix. So the first race we're going to watch will be an A-Class race. I believe the second one is also an A-Class race. And then the last one is an S-Class race. So to give us the chance to do a good comparison on like what the differences are between these two classes and how one can progress to the other, or maybe vice versa, to kind of give a bigger picture of the men's scene as a whole. Unfortunately, we don't have any women's racing today. There will definitely be women's racing in the next one because there is an L-Class event happening at this tournament too. I just felt that the L-Class performances from the second 2 days were a lot more interesting and impressive than those from the first day. So without further ado, let's jet over to Hiratsuka and watch some Kaden. Big guns, I only want the big guns here. We have green shorts because we are riding in the A class, some bows throughout. This is a classy event to be a part of. Beautiful pink and white Bridgestone underneath number 6, who looks nervous. Let's take a look at the preliminary scoreboard here, and we will see that we have several riders from the A2 class and 2 from the A1 class. Their low numbers perhaps indicate that they are in a transition between an A2 and an A1. Maybe they are transcending the A2 class to become A1s, or maybe they are on the way back in. I think time will tell what that is, but number 4 is the highest ranked rider in the group today, so he is the favorite. And let's take a look at all of these riders. Number 1, Ken Shibata from Kanagawa. Number 2, Kosuke Sumita from Hiroshima. Number 3, Toshinari Yonemaru from Kumamoto. Number 4, Asami Hayabusa from Tokyo. Number 5, Tatsuji Tagawa from Kumamoto. Number 6, Shibuya Rin from Kanagawa. Okay, and we'll get underway. Some tightening of the pedal straps there, very important. You do not want to be pulling out whilst in the race. This is obviously very ill-advised, and I think we'll see on number 2, he's got a bit of a scratched up leg, probably the result of a recent accident. I My heart goes out to number 2 today. And there's a bit of a story with number 2 in this race. I don't want to spoil it, but he is definitely one you want to be keeping an eye on throughout the entire thing. Because it is a roller coaster of emotions. I've only just gotten over it myself. So we have a start. Number 6 looking around, looks like he's going to be taking the front for now. Lovely white saddle to match the white and pink paint job of the Bridgestone. If he's ever in the market to sell that, I'd be very interested. It would never fit me, of course. Maybe for my girlfriend or something. So we have number 6 and number 1. Looks like they're going to switch positions. I do believe there is some preconceived tactic and some collusion with number 4, number 1, and number 6. I've chosen to fast forward the kind of intermediate laps because not a lot tends to happen in those times. It's more of a parade type of scenario. I am debating whether I will just cut straight to the action or whether I'll continue with this fast forward thing. But it does kind of get everything underway, but you still get to see the entire race. So we've got number 2 starting with a move. On the right hand side, he's taking number 5 with him, swoops down and bats number 1 out of the way. Number 1 sticking to the wheel of number 4 there, who is looking around in anticipation for an attack. But this is a big key difference that you notice between A-class and S-class riders is at this stage of the race, the S-class would still be ripping. But the A-class don't have as much endurance when it comes to the sprints. Especially not in a race with only 6 riders. Things might be a little different with more competitors. But we've got number 2 pumping hard to get around the outside, and this is the tragedy I was talking about before. Not to be spoiling it, but he comes around the side. He's got a lot of weight into those pedals, and number 5 just bops him out of the way after sitting on his wheel the whole race. It looks like number 4 got it, but the action replay actually shows, I think, number 1, and that'll be why we're focusing on him right now. I wasn't even concerned with the front of the race the first time I watched this. I just wanted to see what happened to number 2 because he looks so good. He's got his head down. You can see he's advancing up on number 4, and then boom, just bats him out of the way. He goes super wide and just can't get back. And then number 1 comes with a late acceleration and just pips number 4. And it's a pretty good example of an effective line because number 4, number 1, and number 6 in that order were riding as a pretty strong line and managed to take the top 3 positions, which is a pretty good effort from them. So we're going to move on to race 5 now. So on race 5, we've got everybody just lining up as normal. This race will include, I believe, 7 riders. And these guys are a little bit bigger in terms of guns than the previous race because if I pause here, we can see we have completely A1 class. Now, A1 isn't the cream of the crop. We're going to see that a little later, but A1 is pretty close to the core of Caden. Most guys are going to find themselves kind of in that A1 category. And that's where the bread and butter of Caden really is. So we see everyone here is within about 10 points of each other in terms of power level, so there's no really strong favorite. Looks like number 6 has the best odds, but again he is only a couple of points ahead of number 4, so it's not super relevant. And you see these, if you see this middle column here, this is the hometowns. So we see number 5 and number 6 are from the same place. I can't actually read it, but it'll come out in the roll call in 1 second. That is sometimes a really good sign that there might be some teamwork going on between these guys because they're from the same area. They maybe know each other and train together. It's entirely possible that's not the case, but it is interesting to think about, and you as you watch these kinds of races, you want to be looking for things like that to give you clues to what might be about to happen in the race. That's kind of really deep. It's kind of a really deep part of the Karen culture itself. So we're gonna start the fifth race at the Hratska Shonan Bank Velodrome, day 1.
Number 1, Wada Sadaji from Saitama. Number 2, Yuya Nijo from Tokushima. Number 3, Yasuto Misawa from Miyagi. Number 4, Sakai Yuta from Fukushima. Number 5, Yunosuke Minashige from Okayama. Number 6, Shunya Yamazaki from Okayama. Number 7, Kintaro Sekine from Kanagawa.
So 2 things I expect with 7 riders rather than 6. I think things will be a little more messy. People will be getting in each other's way a little more, and the pace will be ever so slightly higher. That'll be in part due to the fact that this is all A1 class and quite highly ranked A1 riders too. And also because there are more riders, which equals more drafting. Plus you have to get ahead of one more person. So we look ready to start now. We're going to get the gun. And we're off. So a lot of looking around early on. It seems number 4 was really happy to take the initiative. Had a spring in his step for sure. So his tactic probably relied on being quite high up on the start there. Number 6 just lagging behind, taking a little look at everything, and we have some reorganizing happening with number 3 and number 7, just riding alongside the chain here. We haven't ramped up the pace to how high it will be later on. I'm told they ride around 50 towards the end. That seems high, but I'm not one to call them out. So we've gone into the fast forwarded stage again. We have 3 laps to go. Probably not a lot going to happen with 3 to go. Everyone seems to be just staying in position. Right, so we got some looking around from number 7. And number 6 is looking to launch an attack. Getting on top of big gears. But it doesn't seem like they're gonna kick fully at this stage. It would be pretty early on to be doing that, although they definitely try it sometimes. So we're about to hear the bell for 1 lap to go. Everyone's still looking around a lot. This would be the time to go for number 6, and he's decided just to keep going with it. So 1 lap to go. Everybody is ramping up the pace. It looks like number 7 has left a little bit of a gap to close up. And he's trying to come around now, blocked a little bit by number 2, but he seems to be getting on terms with number 5 as he comes around. Huge sweeps from number 5. Number 7 almost flows back into number 4, and number 4 is kicking really hard to get back around and manages to overtake almost everyone else, well, in fact, everyone else, to take the lead there. And that was really impressive late acceleration from him. He had to weave and duck a lot through there. Very good group riding shown from number 4. As you see, he nearly gets taken out by number 7, manages to hold up and just takes that opportunity just to ream around the outside. And number 5 is trying to hold the front, and he would have done it too if not for number 4. I think number 3 we had in 3rd place. Number 6 and number 2 is very hotly contested. I'm very interested to see who won that. It looks like number 2, followed by number 6, number 1, and number 7 way out the ass. Cool. Race 11. So this is S-Class. This is the biggest of the big guns, and the tension in the air is electric. This is the 11th race of the day, and this is the last race of that day too. And I'm excited to show this because I think it will illustrate quite well. I'm going to pause it. It will illustrate quite well the difference in how these races are run. There is like a big jump from an A1 to an S2, and we're going to see why. So pretty spread out rankings here. We have some people in the low 80s, and our favorite number 1 is at 115, which is a very good rank for an S2. And number 5 at 107, the next highest, is also pretty strong. We have a lot of people from the same area. So number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. Number 3, number 4, and number 5 all hailing from the same area, which I will say soon. So we could be seeing some collusion from the middle 3 numbers. 7 riders this time, because this is an S-Class race. And because this is an S-Class race, this is 2,025 meters rather than the 1,625 meters before. A little bit longer races. I don't think it really makes too much of a difference, but let's get underway.
Number 1, Yugoto from Iwate. Number 2, Yuji Ogawa from Ehime. Number 3, Takatsugu Yamaguchi from Fukuoka. Number 4, Nishida Taishi from Fukuoka. Number 5, Shohei Haraguchi from Fukuoka. Number 6, Umehara Daiji from Shizuoka. Number 7, Daihiko Ito from Tokushima.
Okay. S-Class. This is how we do. So it's a little later in the day now. You start to see some shadows on the track. The footage tends to get a little shit once night starts to fall, so apologies for that. I'm going to do my best to make the colors look good and keep everything looking fresh, but yeah, they do get a little blotchy looking later in the day. But we're ready to go now, and this is our final race for this video, but we'll be picking up tomorrow on day 2 to see how that's going to. And we've started. Everything's looking good. Number 3 looks like he's gonna take the lead without too much kerfuffle there. Number 5 slotting in behind number 2, who is behind number 1. Number 4 leaving a bit of a gap with number 6 and number 7 behind him. Not too much going on just yet. Looks like some minor position changes. Looks like 5 is gonna slot in next to number 3. If not go completely past, and number 4 is going to slot in behind him. So everyone's a little spread out now, not too sure where they want to go. Predominantly red bikes, it seems, at the front at least. 4 laps to go, so like one extra lap. Doesn't do too much for me personally, but this is the fast forwarded section, not a lot going on. You see this guy is pumped, number 1, doing the fist bumps. He knows what's up. So these guys definitely take it a lot more seriously. Some of the A-Class guys, you know, they drink a few beers every night. They'd be smoking some cigarettes outside the park premises. Probably less likely to see that with these guys. You would see it, and you would see it especially a lot more back in the 90s and stuff like that. But these guys do consider themselves athletes, I think. They are trying to make a name for themselves as that. So number 1 coming up, taking number 6 with him, looking around a lot, and we have 3 groups. Number 2 with number 7 on him, looking around to see who's going to come up from behind. He should really be looking at the front also, because number 1's probably about to kick, and he does. Number 5 has left a big gap, and he looks like he's struggling to close that as we come into the last lap. Number 2 manages to catch up onto the wheel of number 6 and goes around straight away with number 7 on his wheel. Number 6 trying to block that a little bit, but gets swamped. Number 5 with some big powerful push coming through and forcing both number 2 and number 1 down into the red zone, and with his power is just smashing it through. Very dominant performance from number 5 there. Number 4, I think, was able to hold on to 2nd place, and the sparkle blood red of that bicycle is foreboding, to say the least. He seems to be a bit of a taller guy compared to some of his fellow racers, and I'm just waiting for them to bring up the replay, because there was some really interesting stuff happening the last little part of that lap. So we got number 2 and number 1 trying to get on terms with each other. A little bit of karma for number 2 because he did the exact same thing to number 1 and then became a victim of it. Number 7 tries to bring it around the outside, the only other rider that really has a chance to do anything, but he's too late. He cannot get on terms with number 5, who drives it through to the line. Looks like number 3 gets second place with number 4, and then number 2, 6 and 1. So that was a really good race, and you can kind of see how things light up and how things play out differently in a tactical sense with those races. So thanks everyone for watching this edition of Back to the Banks with Piggy Banks. I've been your host, Piggy Banks. I have really enjoyed breaking down day 1. Can't wait to get on to day 2, which will be very soon. Stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching, and arigatou gozaimasu.